Hi there, I'm Simon Walker. I'm Director of Training at Maxon, and welcome to the Red Giant session, where we're going to attempt to take you through the 100 plus plugins that Red Giant do. In fact, it's many more than 100, but I wanted to let you know how to understand how each of the plugins works and how they are designated into different disciplines. And in fact, you can follow along with this because I'm on the redgiant.com website. And this is a good way of understanding how the plugins are organized. So up under the products menu, we have the suites listed out here: Universe, Trapcode, Magic Bullet, and VFX Suite. And I'm going to be joined in this session by some of our expert Maxon trainers who are going to go through each of these suites, giving you a few examples of the key tools inside each one. But I wanted to give you an overview first. So let's jump into Magic Bullet Suite. And in the suite, just click on Tools here, we have a range of the different tools that Magic Bullet does. And you can think of this like making your footage look better and rescuing shots. And you may have heard of Magic Bullet Looks. This is the flagship tool that has been around for 15 years or so, and this allows you not only to color correct and grade footage, but you can take advantage of the dozens and dozens of presets to take a head start on your grade and be able to then try out different looks and different treatments and then be able to configure these. And Max is going to tell you more about the Magic Bullet Suite shortly, but here's just an overview and a flavor. I'm just going to hop through some of these little videos. And another tool in the suite is something which is, I think, essential for saving shots, especially if you've introduced video noise, whether you're shooting in low light or whether your clips have been overcompressed or saved at a low data rate. A denoiser can take that macro blocking and remove it so that you can then color correct and grade your footage and use shots that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to use. In addition to that, we have Colorista, which is a standalone tool which allows you to grade and keyframe grades inside your host, but it also allows you to use this amazing tool, the guided color correction, which takes you through the grading stages. So sometimes you don't know what type of footage you're dealing with. But in this case, this can help you analyze it. It takes you through each individual stage, even if you're not a trained colorist, and helps you control and master and get the best out of your footage. Just jumping to the next tool. Then we've got Magic Bullet Cosmo, a very simple tool which helps you target just skin tones, whether you want to do some skin smoothing on a shot or whether you want to highlight and then just color correct the skin by itself, even without smoothing, which is a really fast way of being able to isolate skin tone without having to make a key. We've also got tools like Mojo, which let you do multiple color corrections all in one go. And in this case, it gets that blockbuster look, that sort of filmic look of adding bluey greens into the shadows and accentuating the contrast and accentuating the skin tone to give you that instant film look. And whilst we're talking about film, there's a whole other set of tools called Magic Bullet Film, which go one step further, which take the inherent color values of specific film stocks and then let you add those to your footage and then to integrate them, whether it's at a certain percentage or whether it's at 100%, so that you can mimic the filmic quality. And also, talking more about filmic quality, Magic Bullet Renoiser allows you to introduce film grain, but it does this in an intelligent way. And it lets you add the grain that you typically would find if you were shooting on film. And it does this by breaking down the image and then projecting the image onto small grain elements which you can control the size and the texture of. And it's a great way of being able to make clips work together, or adding this to 3D renders so that you can make it seem like it fits into the scene a little more seamlessly. In any case, what also we have inside the tools is the ability to work with multiple hosts. If I just jump up to the compatibility, Many of these tools work in multiple hosts, and on the website you can just like hover over each of the tool categories just to see which hosts they work in, which is a really handy way of seeing how they work. But I just wanted to highlight one workflow, which is inside Magic Bullet Looks, which lets you work with multiple different hosts. And I've seen in certain broadcasters and production facilities how people work with looks, say on the timeline, let's say if you're working in Premiere or even if you're working in Media Composer, you can set up a look and then share that preset with your colleagues, even if they're working in, say, DaVinci Resolve. And that means that you can have the same look all the way through the pipeline. Whether your colorist is adding extra treatments along the way, they can add looks on the timeline in Resolve or as a node, and then combine that with all the other treatments. And Looks works at 32-bit and up to 8K resolution, so that you can then combine this with all the other tools in the workflow. So I think that's the fastest I've ever gone through Magic Bullet Suite, but it's just to give you a flavor of those things. So quickly jumping on to the next one, let's have a look at VFX Suite. We'll look at Universe in a second. And VFX Suite is another series of tools to make your images look better. And if we just jump into the tools here, we have a collection of tools that allow you to do all those really annoying things that, well, they're not annoying per se, but there's things that are tedious and take time to actually do. So we're starting off in Primet Kia, and Primet Kia is interesting because, as well as working in multiple hosts like Premiere and After Effects, it has got an advanced algorithm that helps you identify your background, even if it wasn't shot properly on the perfect green or blue. Plus, it has controls that allow you to tweak the mask and also to shrink things like the matte and take away the green spill. And just jumping along, because this is a highlight flavor, as well as the green screening, we've got a Kingpin tracker for doing planar tracking inside After Effects. And this makes those tasks easier where you have to do like corner pinning or screen replacement or sign replacement, and doing things which typically have traditionally taken a long amount of time to do in After Effects. But with planar tracking built in, you can do set extensions and make these things really fast so that you've got time for more iterations. And as well as planar tracking, we have this lens distortion matching. And the classic thing when you're doing tracking inside After Effects is that if you've got any distortions on the lens, then that makes it traditionally difficult to track. And what the lens distortion matcher does is that it takes that distortion and then projects that onto its own comp, so that makes the tracking easier. Then it takes your original square graphics that you've comped onto there, and then it redistorts them, and the distortion that matches the edges of the frame, or it matches the curvature that these individual lenses have added into the shot. So it's a really interesting tool to save time when you're trying to add extra elements into the shot. And Jonas is going to be taking us through more details inside VFX Suite shortly. But here's another tool in our whistle-stop like overview, if you like. Another tracker. This is a point tracker, and well, actually it's multiple points actually that it tracks. But it's a great way of taking an element and giving a spot clone tracker, well, spot clone tracker is its name, and taking that clone and then removing something, whether it's a plug in the background of the scene or whether it's a detail that you just want to remove or replicate. And it's really great for removing or adding logos as well to scenes, and also swapping faces like we've got here, and also just jumping along into optical glow. This is a beautiful 32-bit inverse square fall-off glow, which just makes your glows look incredible. And you can apply optical glow directly onto motion graphics footage or video footage, or you can use it in the flagship tool inside VFX Suite, which is SuperComp. And SuperComp is a revolutionary new way of doing compositing in After Effects. And it takes all the tedious, repetitive tasks and automates them. And SuperComp has its own panel, so you apply it to a layer, and then it intelligently collects information about all the other layers together, and then if you make a change on one layer, then that is represented in the other layers, typically with light wrap and making color corrections that change how the other layers integrate with each other. So it's an amazing way of saving time inside the compositing process, and it has 17 unique tools that actually are within the interface itself that help you do this much faster. And as I said, Jonas is going to run you through some of the key things inside VFX Suite very soon. But just before that, we're jumping into Universe, which is another one of the suites, which, if you like, the way to think about Universe is if Magic Bullet and VFX Suite are making your footage look beautiful, then Universe is making your footage look terrible, if you like. And it's a collection of stylizing clips, or stylizing effects, I should say, which allows you to add, say, tape effects or glitch effects or things like fake holograms, and even automatically updating text. Again, it takes these creative processes and it makes them much faster to be able to do it on the timeline. And again, we're talking about compatibility. If we just jump up to the compatibility section on the Red Giant website, this works in a variety of different hosts. And the idea about this is you could be working in one host. Let's say you're working on the editing timeline and you're trying some things out. You can then give that preset to your graphics team and they can work into it, or vice versa. You've found an amazing treatment in After Effects and then you can give it to your editor in Premiere or in Media Composer, and they can then also use that same preset to be able to add those custom effects to their timeline. And Nick is going to be showing us a bit more about this in a second. And then finally, we have Trapcode Suite, which has the flagship tool, Trapcode Particular, inside it. And it also has a whole series of different tools that allow you to take motion graphics and make them look amazing. So if I just click on the tools section here, and we jump down to things like Trapcode Form. This is a particle system which lets you integrate 3D elements. So you can take OBJ sequences or Cineware files from Cinema 4D, and you can add these into your comps inside After Effects. As well as, let's jump into Mia, which has the ability of taking those same OBJ files or Cineware files and then enhancing them. And the beauty of doing this inside After Effects is that you can make last-minute tweaks. So if you wanted to change the nature of the diffused lighting, or if you want to make something look a bit more chalky or a bit more having more reflection, then you can do that directly inside After Effects and then change and manipulate them in terms of their surface and also how much they reflect the inherent After Effects lights, and whether you wanted to affect the surface of them to be less or more diffuse, as well as creating some beautiful abstract designs. Trapcode has been around since the early 2000s, and so you'll also recognize some of these tools like 3D Stroke and Trapcode Shine, and also Trapcode's sound keys, which is fantastic for automating the process of animation, because this can take the isolated values of different frequencies and animates pretty much any parameter within After Effects. And to do this automatically, or to do this and update it by updating the audio file, is an amazing time saver. But probably the flagship tool inside Trapcode Suite is Trapcode Particular. And Particular is fantastic for creating these beautiful particle systems, whether you're using fluid physics or whether you're using the particles to imitate motion graphics elements, plasma, fire, dust, sparks, galaxies. And so I'd like to introduce Ellie, one of our Maxon expert trainers, who's going to show you some of the key features inside Particular and why it's so useful. So over to you, Ellie.
Thanks, Simon. Hey guys, I'm Ellie, I'm one of the trainers at Maxon, and I'm here to talk to you about the incredibly powerful Trapcode Particular, which is found within the Red Giant Trapcode Suite 16. So what is Trapcode Particular? It's a tool for creating organic 3D particle effects and complex motion graphics elements. You can quickly create particle effects in a powerful designer, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. You can work with multiple systems in the same 3D space, bring particles to life with organic behaviours, and even run physics simulations like fluid dynamics. Particular also makes it easy to add natural effects and even 3D object-based emitters to your work. So let's dive into After Effects and take a closer look. Here I've got an empty new comp. We can add particular by adding a new solid. Then if we go up to the Effect tab, find Trapcode, then hit particular, we can see it's been added to the solid. Now, if we press play, we can see our particles. What's great about Trapcode Particular is it gives you the ability to build particle effects visually with a powerful designer that makes generating effects more creative and intuitive than ever before. And we can find it here. If we click the designer button, it'll open up this second window. And in here we can add adjustable blocks with preset behaviours and styles for emitters, particles, physics, and aux particles. Or we can choose from over 300 Trapcode Particular fully customizable presets designed to give you a head start. Simply add the complete particle effects with a single click and adjust the block from there. The designer also gives you instant feedback, making the building and previewing of your effects an easy and intuitive experience. You can even preview your particle layout with the camera position controls. So let's select one of these presets and take a look and see what we can do. So we have these blocks down the bottom, which are split into 4 sections: emitter, particle, lighting, and physics. And they help us to understand which of these blocks can do. If we go into the emitter type, we have a drop-down menu where we can select a range of different types of emitters, from point to box. And yes, you can even use 3D models and animated OBJ sequences as emitters to give your particle system a whole new dimension. Choose from Particulars library or easily add your own model using the OBJ loading panel directly within the designer. For added flexibility, you can choose to emit your particles from the vertices, edges, faces, or volume of your OBJ file. Motion is where we can set the rotation and the velocity of our particles. If we decrease the velocity, we get slower particles. These next 4 blocks give us the ability to control the particle type, size and rotation, opacity, and colour. If we open up our particle type menu, we get another drop down with a range of different types, including this sprite option. This allows you to use any image in your composition as a particle by assigning it as a 3D sprite. Particular includes a bunch of still and animated sprite images. Just click here and easily load via the sprite loading panel, and you can even add your own sprite. This next block allows us to shade our particle types from lights in After Effects. Shading can emulate light fall off, and shadowlit rendering can cast shadows onto your particles too. Lastly are our physics options. Particular has a powerful and intuitive physics engine, allowing you to control forces, behaviours, and dynamics to create incredible results. We'll dive more into these shortly. One final thing to mention before we take a look at some of the new features in this latest update: you can get super fast feedback with Trapcode Particular's GPU acceleration through OpenGL. Depending on your system and your setup, you could see speed boosts of up to 4 times. So, you may be aware that we recently released a huge new update for Trapcode, and this includes some amazing new features in Trapcode Particular 5.0. Let's take a quick look at some. My favourite new feature has to be the emit from parent system. This adds a lot more flexibility to your designs. Previously we had the aux system where you could emit particles from other particles in one system, but the limitation was that you could only have one aux emitter per system. Now with the new parent-child particle systems, a parent emitter can emit one or more complete child emitters. It's also worth mentioning that we've increased the number of systems from 8 to 16, allowing for even more possibilities. And also, you can still access the old aux system here under the presets menu. If we drop down the basics section, you'll find it here. Now let's talk about physics. In this new release, there's been a huge revamp to Particular's powerful physics engine, including new behaviours, forces, and environment controls. You can easily bring your particles to life with flocking and swarming, or even combine multiple physics like air and bounce to create incredible fluid simulations for even more realism. So let's talk about air and bounce together. For the first time ever, you can combine air and bounce physics for more realistic, complex effects. Choose up to 3 layers with total control. The new environment options allow you to add external forces like gravity, wind, and air turbulence. Define the different controls to affect your particles' position and orientation. There are also 3 new behaviour settings in Trapcode 5.0: flocking and swarming, predator and prey, and meander, each allowing you even greater control of your particle simulations to create unique and powerful designs. Let's quickly break down this scene where we are using Trapcode Particular to create this amazing firework display using the new Emit from Parent tool. If we open up the designer, we can see that this project is made up of 16 different particle systems, most of which are set to emit from parent system within the emitter type block. And in here you can also choose the parent system you need it to be connected to. If I go through and hide all the systems except our primary one and turn them on one by one, we can see what each new system is doing in our designer. Another new feature we're using is the fast physics block, which allows us to affect physics quickly without taking too much of a hit to our render times. If you want to find out more about this latest release, head over to the Red Giant website where Harry Frank takes you through the awesome new features found within this latest update. Right, now it's time to head over to Max, who's going to take you through the Magic Bullet suite for all things colour correction and grading. Take it away, Max.
Thank you, Ellie. Hey everyone. Now I would like to walk you through the all-new Magic Bullet Suite 14. Magic Bullet Suite 14 is a powerful set of tools for real-time color corrections, finishing, and creating film looks for filmmakers. Magic Bullet Suite 14 gives you everything you need to make your footage looks great right inside your editing timeline. The flagship tools in the suite is Magic Bullet Looks. The all-new Magic Bullet Looks 5 is the easiest, most powerful way to make your video looks great. You can choose from over 300 fully customizable presets to get you started. Magic Bullet Looks UI is also very user-friendly, and using Looks, you'll experience just how easy and enjoyable your color grading can be. It is important to note that Looks is GPU accelerated. It means that it is running on your graphic card, giving you much powerful and faster experience when color grading. Look has OpenCL and CUDA support, and it works with Mercury Playback Engine in Premiere Pro, giving you real-time video playback. Inside Magic Bullet Looks, you can also find classic color scopes like RGB Parade, Slice Graph, Hue Saturations, and Hue Lightness. These scopes are essential to read your image accurately. There's also a unique memory color scope for monitoring important colors, such as skin tone. You can also resize these scopes and zoom into the hue saturation scope to see more detail. In Magic Bullet Looks, you can work with reference stills to inform color correction decisions. You can also take snapshots to compare corrections between different clips or projects. You can also load stills from other sources. Magic Bullet Looks 5 comes with multiple tools in 4 different categories, from selective tools, camera tools, color correction tools, and the film emulation tools. These tools go beyond the capabilities of your applications or dedicated grading software. New in Magic Bullet Looks 5 is the color handling in the toolchain. It is kind of more user-friendly versions of color management. Color handling is a powerful way to manage your colors. Choose from a wide variety of input color transforms, and then choose any of these output transforms to make sure that looks integrated perfectly to any of your color workflow. Looks 5 is shipped with over 300 fully customizable presets. There's also a new elaborated search functions to navigate through our ever-growing presets library. Each of these presets are carefully indexed to make your discovery more intuitive. You can now search based on the name of the presets, or the feeling, or mood, or even the reference movie that you like. Looks 5 comes with 3 brand new tools for color corrections. Unity is the tools that you can use to simplify your color palette. Simply pick a target color and unify the surrounding colors by adjusting the scope. Using Unity, you can get a harmonious color palette just within few clicks. Channel Mixer is fantastic to stylize your image in simple but powerful way. By default, you can see that the red in red channels is at 1, the green in the green channel is at 1, and the blue in the blue channel is at 1. You can then simply add any other color in each channel using the slider. To make it even simpler, these sliders are color-coded, so you won't get lost in making your decisions. It is a lot of fun to experiment with Color Mixer. Those of you who's familiar with black and white photography are most probably familiar with these tools already. You can use Channel Mixer to get a fantastic monochrome image. Just like a red filter in black and white photography, you can adjust the red channel to darken the blue sky and get outstanding look. It is a fantastic way to make your black and white footage look great just within few clicks. Color Remap is one of a kind of a tool. It is a great tool to simply take one color and remap it into another color. To start, simply click New Color Mapping and pick a color. Notice that by default it is remapping the color you've selected onto itself. Now you can then simply use the color wheel to change it into another color, or you can also just simply click to other color that you wish. Pretty easy, right? Also notice that by default, Color Remap is pinning the three colors, white, gray, and black onto themselves to make sure you got the natural looking grade. Magic Bullet Lux is also integrated in Cinema 4D R23. The versions running in Cinema 4D is the previous versions of Magic Bullet Lux 4. Lux is available in the render settings or as a command in the viewport. Once you've launched Lux inside Cinema 4D, you'll be in the familiar Magic Bullet Lux interface. And once again, to get you started, feel free to try any of these 300 presets and tweak it. Once you're set, you won't be seeing your look only in the final render, but also live in the viewport. Pretty cool, right? The second tool in the suite is Magic Bullet Colorista 5. Colorista brings streamlined professional color corrections directly into your editing timeline. There will be no need for you to leave your host app to grade your footage. Colorista gives you easy access to powerful and essential tools for color correcting and color grading your shot. Are you confused where to start when color correcting your footage? Let Colorista guide you using an industry-tested color corrections workflow in Guided Color Corrections. Guided Color Corrections will guide you through the essential color correction steps adapted from many professional colorists. This will start you off on the right foot with a perfectly balanced shot that's ready for a color grade later on. New in Colorista 5 is the Saturations Graphic EQ. Using this EQ, you can adjust your saturations to a more targeted area in few clicks. You can, for example, reduce the saturations in the shadow or highlight by using the Saturations by Luminance sliders, or you can just reduce the saturations in the highly saturated areas and add the saturations in the less saturated areas by using the Saturations by Saturation sliders. Colorista 5 is also now shipped with a fantastic LUT browser. Using the LUTs browser, you can visually see how your LUTs looks like before actually applying them into your corrections. You can also import LUT using the import button and locate LUTs in your hard drive. Apart from browsing LUTs, using Colorista 5, you can also generate your own LUTs to be later on shared with your collaborators of your project. Colorista 5 is also more integrated with Adobe applications than ever before. Since it is GPU accelerated, you can experience real-time color corrections with Adobe's Mercury Playback engine. Using the new Colorista panel, you can transform Premiere Pro and After Effects into professional color grading environment. As a panel, Colorista is always available to adjust clips on your timeline without the need to manually apply an effect to every clip. Colorista panel can also dynamically scale and reorganize UI elements to fit your needs, whether that be a second monitor or a slimmed down column in your workspace. Colorista 5 also comes with an easy-to-use keyer which allows you to adjust individual colors or range of colors. You can create color keys intuitively with direct sampling interface. You can also soften, invert, or choke the matte you've created. You can use keyer for corrections on single layer, or use it as a cutout mode which use the keyer to create layer transparency for more powerful layered color corrections. Shooting in low light conditions or at high ISO can add a lot of noise to your footage. Magic Bullet Denoiser 3 is your solution for incredibly fast and easy video noise reductions with no stress. Just apply a denoiser and your footage instantly looks better. Denoising doesn't have to be all complicated in order to get professional results. Denoiser 3 is a set of 5 simple sliders. On many cases, the default settings on denoiser gets the job done, but the extra controls are there in case you need to fine-tune your tweak. To get the best result, make sure you always use denoiser at the very beginning of your effect chain. Denoiser 3 will give you the fastest, easiest, and most reliable video denoising experience available. Denoiser 3 runs on the GPU, providing you near real-time renders. Magic Bullet Mojo 2 makes it easy to give your footage a cinematic color grade of a Hollywood film in seconds. Mojo 2 emphasizes skin tones while giving your footage a film-like contrast and the unified complementary color palette of a big-budget movie. Get your footage to look cinematic instantly just by applying Mojo. You can pick one of the 14 built-in presets based on popular movies. Then, with just few simple sliders, make the look your own. You can also use Mojo as your main color correction tool, as it provides you the control to exposure and color balance as well. Using these controls, you can match your shots easily. Since Mojo 2 is GPU accelerated, it plays back in real time, so it won't slow you down. Mojo 2 makes people look great by emphasizing skin tones and pushing other colors towards its complementary, cooler tone. Magic Bullet Cosmo 2 is your secret weapon for perfect cosmetic cleanup. This simple but powerful tool helps you quickly correct skin tones and remove blemishes from your on-screen talent. Start Cosmo by targeting the precise skin tone area within your shot using the Skin Sample tool. Cosmo gives you beautiful skin smoothing that feels completely natural and untouched. Cosmo 2 gives you the best possible result with incredible speed since it's also GPU accelerated. Magic Bullet Film gives your footage the authentic look, feel, and color of real film. It emulates not just the film stocks themselves, but the entire photochemical process from the original film negatives to color grading, film grain, and vignette, and finally to the print stock. The digital stocks in Magic Bullet Film are based on real film and the real color grading experience of industry experts. You can find up to 22 negative stocks and 4 print stocks, giving you 88 possible cinematics combinations. Magic Bullet Denoiser gives your footage a cinematic texture and grain whether you've denoised your video, created CGI or motion graphics, or if your digital video is just too clean. Denoiser gives your footage a truly cinematic feel. The all-new GPU-accelerated grain engines gives your footage a genuine texture of film. Unlike other film grain tools out there, Denoiser actually rebuilds your image out of the virtual grain rather than just applying a grain layer on top of it. This produces a result which is more genuine than anything you've seen before, all in real time. Denoiser is fully customizable with detailed controls over grain size, amount, and tonal response. There are also options for color or monochromatic grains. It is best to use Denoiser at the end of your effect chain, and since we are using it at the end of the chain, you can also use Denoiser to sharpen your image. The combo of grain and sharpening can also be used to keep your footage looking at its best when your video is compressed by sites like YouTube or Vimeo. Denoiser can reduce bending due to websites' compressions. In fact, there's a dedicated preset to do just that, the compressions proofing presets. So guys, that was Magic Bullet Suite 14, all your color needs right inside your editing timeline. Now let us head over to Jonas with the VFX Suite. Take it away, Jonas.
Thanks, Max. I want to introduce you to a very powerful set of After Effects plugins called VFX Suite. This suite consists of 10 plugins and covers everything you need for VFX shots, like tools for keying, tracking and cleanup, but also light effects and even VFX compositing where the layers are aware of each other, which is amazing. So let me directly jump into After Effects to show you some of the cool stuff that you can do with VFX Suite. Here I have a scene with a fight going on, so you can see I've got two characters which are keyed out. I've got the witch throwing a fireball, which is a lens flare, onto the giant. I integrated the characters by using light wraps and the shadow here, and there's also some heat distortion going on to integrate her better. So let me show you how we can do this. I go to the Start Comp, and the first thing you see is that the giant here, the warrior, is not keyed out. So let's double click the composition here and add some effect from VFX Suite, which is called Primate Keyer. And with Primate Keyer, we can simply auto-define the key, and this pretty much brings you there. And then you've got this tool palette, and when you hover over these tools, you can see what they are doing down here. So let me go down to the split screen option, because here I can see what the key is actually doing. And I'm going to clean the background a little bit. I'm also going to use the rectangle sample tool and just draw rectangles here to sample out the background. And this looks pretty clean now. And then you can go to this tool and sample a little bit of the foreground and clean it up like so. And just sample out a little bit of the background again. And here we go. This is looking pretty clean. Now if I leave split screen, we can see that there is still a lot of color spill on him, like green spill from the green screen, and we can go down to the spill killer and just hit enable spill killer, and now the spill is gone. So what we can do now is just increase the matte blur and maybe increase the shrink matte parameter, and here we go. That's our keyed out warrior. So let's go back to the comp, and here we can see what the key looks like. The next thing I want to do is I want to add some shadow to integrate him better. So I right click the effect controls panel, again go down to Red Giant VFX and use the shadow effect. And this is pretty cool because it allows you to create a shadow simply by creating a ground plane. This is basically the ground line here. And then you can create the shadow here. And actually we need that shadow to go up the wall, and we can do this simply by enable the shadow bend. So what we can do here is we can create a banded shadow like so. I'm now happy with the shape, but I want to go down to the displacement settings, because here I can define the background, for example, as a displacement layer, and then I can bring up the horizontal and vertical displacement a little bit just to integrate the shadow a little bit better with the background. And then I can increase the softness and also decrease the opacity. And this is pretty much what I wanted to achieve. Now, the next thing I wanted to show is Null Light Factory. This is a tool that allows you to create lens flares, even on After Effects lights or those lights coming from Cinema 4D. And here in the designer, you can choose one of the almost 200 presets and also customize them. And back here in After Effects, you can even restrict the lens flares to a group or a single light. So here we can adjust the light naming. Let's call this Fireball and hit OK. And now just the light with the string Fireball in its name will have a lens flare. Okay, now let's go to my next composition where I prepared everything with pre-comps just to get started with Super Comp. And in order to apply Super Comp, you need to select at least one layer, but I want to select the background, the warrior shadow, and the warrior. And then I right click into the effect controls panel, go down to Red Giant VFX and use Super Comp. So here a separate panel opens up, and I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. On the left, you can see all of the After Effects layers, and you can add them into the Super Comp context. So here we have Super Comp layers. And the first thing I want to do here is I want to integrate the warrior better. And you can simply add effects by hitting the plus here. And now I choose color correction. And in this case, it's very easy because I just have to click match background. And as you can see, it now matches much better. If I deactivate it and activate it again, you can see that. The next thing I want to add is a light wrap. So we hit the plus again and use the light wrap. And now I want to show you what this is doing. I bring the amount up to 100%. And now you can see that the feet are very bright because the light of the ground is wrapped around the feet. And I will decrease the size a little bit and bring the amount back to, let's say, 50%. Now here's the next cool thing. If I enable the green solid here, if I bring that into the supercomp context and place it beneath the warrior, you can see that now there is a light wrap of the green solid. Now let me move the green solid down and you can see that this light wrap is adjusting live. Look at this. Really cool stuff. The next thing that I can also show you with that layer is the glow behavior. So if I deactivate the light wrap, for example, I can add optical glow to the layer. And as you can see, this glow is on top of the warrior layer, although the solid layer is behind the warrior. This is what I meant with compositing, where the layers are aware of each other. Now let me bring in the witch and the fire. Here we go. All right, now she's in there, is color corrected and also has a light wrap. And I want to take care of the fire here. So the first thing I would do with fire is I set the layer type to additive, and now you can see that this is all very bright, but we can also hit the plus and go to presets, and there is one preset called Big Fire, and once you add this will create a lot of cool stuff. It will create some heat blur, so you can see that here on the coat and so on and on her legs. Then it creates a core matte to make it more opaque and also some optical glow to make it glow. So this is also really nice. Now let me go to my finished comp, and here you can see that we have a lot of layers in there and a lot of effects. One thing that I also want to show you is the lines layer here, because it shows pretty well how the heat blur affects the background layers, and it is really awesome. And here is my final project again with the lines applied. Wow, isn't that an incredible tool set? The first time I was using VFX Suite, I was just blown away. I mean, like, especially Supercomp just made me so happy that I can't even describe it. And this is still the case because VFX Suite makes it so much easier to make good VFX compositing inside of After Effects. All right, now it's time to hand it back to Simon, who is going to introduce you to Universe. Take it away, Simon.
Thanks, Jonas. Now, with Red Giant Universe, one of its main benefits, and perhaps one of its problems, is just the sheer amount of tools that it has. Almost 90 GPU-accelerated tools in the whole collection. And I found a really good way of identifying what type of effects it has is by going to the Tools section on the website and then just hovering over each of the sections or each of the tools, which then gives you an animation that gives you a distinct indication of what type of effect it is, whether it's something which automatically counts up numbers for you, or whether it's something that gives a bit of a camera shake to your footage. And here's a fun fact for you. The recent Terminator film, Dark Fate, used camera shake extensively in its Adobe workflows to be able to add an extra sense of realism to the shots. Now, in a second, Nick's going to take you through some of the key features inside Universe, including a way inside the actual program using the Universe dashboard, how you can do this without leaving the host. So, over to you, Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Carraz, and I'm very excited to introduce to you Red Giant Universe. This is a collection of 89 effects and transitions that work in a ton of nonlinear editing applications as well as motion graphic applications. This includes Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, Final Cut Pro 10, Avid Media Composer, and DaVinci Resolve. Let's see how this works in a few of these applications, and I will also show you one of my favorite workflows, which is saving a preset inside a certain application and then being able to share it with another editor, say who's working in DaVinci Resolve. Let's get to it. So I'm here inside of Premiere Pro, and one way to work with Universe once it's installed is to head to your window menu, and under extensions you are going to choose the Red Giant Universe dashboard. This docks to the right in my interface. However, this is going to show up as a floating window the first time that you use it. No matter how it shows up, we can see here that we can preview each of the Universe effects by a handy little thumbnail that will give us a tip to what that effect does to the clip that we wish to apply it to. I'm going to head into the Stylize category, which is one of my favorites inside of Universe, and select the Overlight effect. Once I single click on that, what it does is reveals to me a series of presets which I could use and apply to the active clip on my timeline. Currently, I'm going to press Apply Preset onto the active clip, and you'll see that that gets applied and that I have access to all of its controls within the Effect Control panel. Under Overlight Preset, I also have a drop-down to switch this from, let's say, glow to torches. Not to mention additional controls such as a blending mode for the particular clip that I'm working with, as well as adding some flicker to the overall shot. Now I'm going to select the Universe Overlight and just remove it from the clip. And I actually happen to have a copy of that clip on my V2 track as well. I'll head outside of the Overlight presets and head to the Utilities category so that we can take a look at a new effect called Modes that was added in version 3.3. This effect, first of all, brings blend modes to programs like Avid Media Composer, where it's very difficult to add blends modes. In Premiere, I'm going to apply it to the clip on the V2 track now that it's turned on, and we'll see that a version of Universe Modes has been applied. One thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that it's assigned to a background layer, which it is, the Video 1 track, as well as you can see that it's a custom blend mode has been applied to the A channel. Now you have your typical blend modes to choose from this list, and in this case I'm actually going to choose Overlay so we can see our clips a bit better. And the one thing that you'll notice here is the fact that you can mix it with another blend mode. So I'm going to choose a blend mode B, and in this instance I'll choose Color Dodge. Nothing changes until we increase the A-B mix, that with a mix of 50, it's now mixing the Overlay blend mode A with the Color Dodge blend mode B, bringing even more versatility to programs like Premiere Pro and After Effects that already have blend modes, just not the ability to mix two of them on one layer. I'm going to head to the next clip here on the timeline, and in the Stylize category, I'm going to single click the Shrink Ray effect. This mimics a tilt shift effect and is an incredibly useful effect to create some style on your video clip through color correction, not to mention a shallow depth of field for the actual tilt shift. I'll select the Soften preset. We can see that it's applied to this actual shot. And in Effect Controls, in the properties of the Shrink Ray, there's a control here called Mask View. Once I turn that on, I can play around with the focus width. It will narrow the region of what is in focus, as well as narrow the height to a specific amount, where I can then select the Universe effect by its name to have the focus specifically on the surfer. And I'll disable the black and white overlay mask view by clicking on the checkbox. And I'll press Ctrl tilde to play back that effect fairly quickly within my Premiere Pro timeline. Now, Universe is not just a collection of effects for video editors. In fact, here in After Effects, I have a solid layer as well as my Red Giant Universe dashboard. Open. I'm going to head to the Motion Graphics category and access one of my favorite effects called HUD Components. Now, if you just applied the effect, it might be deceiving, but this is an effect that really shows the power of having presets available to you. I'm going to single click and show a series of animated presets that you could use for your fake user interface design. I'm a big fan of this radar and will apply that as a preset. And here in the After Effects timeline, play that back with the space bar. Let me head back to the Universe Effects menu and also head to the Stylize category and use another of my favorite effects called Hollow Matrix to provide some color correction as well as some unstable glitches. I'm going to mark this unstable glitch as a favorite to make it easier to find in my dashboard later, and then apply this as a preset. While this clip has gone black, under the Universe Hollow Matrix 2 effect, I will make sure to disable time effects so that we can see it again, and the end result of the hollow matrix with my heads-up display component. You can see how easy it is to create some interesting motion graphics just by adding a few effects. I'll turn off this HUD layer and turn on all of the other layers in my composition, where we can create some stunning motion graphic interfaces by combining universe effects as well as using Trapcode, such as Trapcode Mirror, which is referencing the Cinema 4D car. Here in this design, I am using Progresso, some hacker text, as well as some chromatic aberration, which was recently updated in the latest universe release to create this composite directly within After Effects. Now, while applications like Final Cut do not have a universe dashboard, we can always, in Final Cut, go to our effects browser to look at the various categories of universe effects. In this case, I'll head to the Universe Stylized category and simply apply the misfire effect to create a filmic look. I'll see in Final Cut's Inspector that we can choose a preset at the top of that to use. And once we find something we like, such as dust and flicker, see that it is applied to the clip. Now, another big benefit of universe effects is the simple to use controls that are listed at the top of the effects. In fact, if I played with the damage amount, bringing that down to a value of 25, and the color amount to the same, it's actually taking all of the effects that are listed underneath and minimizing them with this one control. If I needed to play around with these effects and turn off a effect that was undesirable, such as the apply dust, I could click that off and on, and in fact also play with the black dust amount and white dust amount in terms of how much is showing up in the actual shot. Now, after I bring down the fade amount on the universe clip, at the top here in the inspector, I'm going to save this as a preset. I'll call this My Filmic Look and press OK. If I chose a preset from here, I want you to see that there's a new custom category with your My Filmic Look available. Your Red Giant Universe custom presets are saved in the same location, whether it be a PC or Mac. Head under your user's Documents folder, and in a Red Giant folder, you'll find a Universe subfolder where you'll see your presets, including My Filmic Look that I just saved, the RGX file. I could copy and paste this and share this with a colleague over email, and he can place this in the same location on his system to see it within his NLE or motion graphic application of choice. So I've headed over to Resolve and already done a search in my effects library for the Universe Misfire effect, to which I'll drag it onto a clip here in the timeline. In Resolve's Inspector, under the Open Effects tab, I'll choose a preset and see that under my custom category, here's My Filmic Look, making that effect cross-platform between multiple applications that share universe. And that's it, a little overview for Red Giant Universe. There's 89 effects there and a lot to explore, so check out redgiant.com for more information about this incredible tool set of effects for your post-production workflows.
Now, I know that's a lot of information that we've just shared with you in a short time, but we do have some resources for you to help you learn more about the Red Giant tools. And one of these is the tutorials page on the redgiant.com website, which has hundreds of hours worth of useful tutorials, including the new one that Jonas uploaded recently that details now that you can have Magic Bullet looks inside Cinema 4D. Plus, every Monday, we have a series of free webinars where we look at different aspects of post-production. And we've been running these for most of this year. And we've got some sessions coming up in November based on color correction and grading. And we'd love you to join those. And if you'd like to watch any of the previous ones, then you can go to the Maxon Volume Program Training channel on YouTube. And that has all the recordings from the previous webinars, plus a collection of short 20-second clips that help remind you about how to do key techniques. And of course, we have Cineversity, where you can learn a wide range of techniques and disciplines inside Cinema 4D and Redshift. So thank you for taking this time to spend with us, and thank you to Ellie and to Max and to Nick and to Jonas for showing the Red Giant tools. And one more thing, if you are in a team, then you may well qualify for complimentary training from the Maxon team direct. So please feel free to reach out to us, training@maxon.net, if you'd like to learn more about that. But thanks so much for joining us today, and stay healthy and stay safe.